according to Travis Bradbury and Jean Greaves, authors of Emotional Intelligence, they said 83% of people with high self-awareness are top performers, while only 2% of bottom performers display this trait, which remarkable distinction. So 83% of people that are high performers are one of the key contributing factors, they say, is self-awareness, whereas only 2% of bottom performers display self-awareness. So you can see the importance of it. And John Maxwell also says that a lack of self-awareness holds back more good teams and derails more leaders' careers than anything else. So I don't know if any of you have noticed this like I have, but anybody noticed that post-COVID, there seems to be more and more people that are not self-aware, that whether you meet them in the stores shopping or whether you meet them downtown or events or stuff like that, or you're working alongside some people, there's a lot of people that just are lacking self-awareness. And so John Maxwell says that a lack of self-awareness holds back more good teams and derails more leaders' careers than anything else. Another reason to talk about self-awareness is that self-awareness in leadership is an understanding of how your personality traits, okay, we're going to go through some of that tonight, your habits, we'll talk about some of that, and your abilities will affect your interactions with the people around you. So self-awareness in leadership is an understanding of how your personality traits, habits, and abilities affect your interactions with the people around you. And I love this quote from John Maxwell. He said, "When we are foolish, we want to conquer the world. When we are wise, we want to conquer ourselves." Whoa. When we are foolish, we want to conquer the world. When we are wise, we want to conquer ourselves. All right. So in the notes, we're going to be talking about 10 qualities in this first session, about 10 qualities of self-aware leaders. Okay, 10 common qualities of self-aware leaders. Number one, okay, they are self-reflective. Okay, leaders, self-aware leaders are self-reflective. Okay, so part of what that means in self-reflective is that we actually have to take time to reflect, and we need to take time. And oftentimes, if you're my personality or personalities like mine, is that we're always on to the next thing. We're always, cruising ahead. We're always on to the next thing. And we don't often take time to reflect on a previous reaction or interaction or being able to take time to self-reflect. But one of the main traits of a self-aware leader, quality of a self-aware leader, is that they are self-reflective. So a part of self-awareness comes from reflecting on your own thoughts. Okay, why did I think that in that situation? Or your own words, why did I say that in that situation? Also take time to reflect on your actions. Why did I do that or react that way in that situation, especially when it comes to communication with others? So if we're able to be self-reflective and walk out of a meeting and say, okay, why did I say that? Why did I react that way? Why did I feel that? Why did I do that? Then you're able to assess maybe something that you did right, being self-reflective and saying, I did that right or handled that right. And sometimes when we do something right, we don't take the time to reflect on, okay, why did that go so well? And a lot of times we unpack our mistakes and what we did wrong. We're self-reflective of when something went really bad. But oftentimes we're not self-reflective when something goes well. But if you reflect on what went well and what you did right, you're able to kind of take not only your reactions or your words, but you're able to take some and learn some things out of that, what you did right, to be able to do it right next time as well. Again, even if self-reflection is if it went wrong, if you said something wrong that you regret, why did I say that? Why did I react that way? Because oftentimes we can get into the idea that, if something went wrong or I reacted that way, if we reflect, we can realize I just need more sleep, or I just need to, I shouldn't take meetings like that at that time of day, or I shouldn't, whatever it might be, you'll get to learn some traits, or maybe I shouldn't get into a really conflict situation right before lunch when I'm hungry. I mean, you'll be able to reflect on certain things and your responses and be able to be better prepared for the next time. And that's a common quality of self-aware leaders. They're self-reflective. Number two, self-aware leaders are observant. Okay, so they're not only reflective on themselves, but they're observant. So they pay attention to what's happening around them by following cues from their environment or the people around them. Okay, so they will be observant. And there's times, have you ever been around somebody, and I'm sure as I go through this teaching today, there's going to be a coworker or somebody that's going to come to mind when we start using some of these examples. They don't pay attention to the room, and they keep talking when everyone's tuned out, or they don't pay attention to a situation where it's tense and they just kind of bubbly, come in there and not pay attention. And self-aware leaders, especially self-aware leaders, are very observant of the environment. They're very observant of the people. They're very observant of the moods. They're very observant of all the things that are all the cues in the environment around them. Okay, number three, the third quality of a self-aware leader is that they are empathetic. Okay, so empathy and sympathy are two very different things. Self-aware leaders are empathetic, which empathy means understanding the needs of others, where sympathy is like, I feel the needs of others. Empathy is understanding the needs of others, and understanding the needs of others helps self-aware leaders relate to those that they lead, right? So if you're around somebody who's not sensing your needs, or not sensing the needs of somebody beside you, and they just, maybe somebody is tired and they're asking for more, and you're going, ooh, like you're not sensing right now what's going on. That's not a self-aware leader, or, that's not being self-aware. Or there's times where somebody's bored and they're like, well, they're taking things from them instead of giving them challenge. A self-aware leader is very empathetic, understanding the needs of others and helping them relate to those that they lead. Number four, the fourth trait is that they are perceptive. Okay, so self-aware leaders are perceptive. So they not only understand the needs, but they anticipate. Okay, perception is anticipating the outcome of a situation, is another important trait of self-aware leadership. So if you can anticipate the outcome of a situation, you're more able to prepare for that situation, prepare for that meeting. If you anticipate even where you expect pushback to come from, you're able to prepare. If you anticipate where there's going to be excitement, you're going to be able to prepare for that. If you understand and you're empathetic and you understand the needs around you, you're going to be able to, and now become perceptive, you're going to be able to anticipate the outcome of a situation. And now self-aware leader is not ever, none of us are ever 100% right, but the self-aware leaders are perceptive and are typically very aware, observant, empathetic, self-reflective, perceptive. Okay, number five, they are active listeners and responsive. And I put that in as an underline because there's people that are active listeners but aren't necessarily responsive. So self-aware leaders are active listeners and responsive to what they hear. Okay, so leaders who are self-aware employ active listening. Okay, so an example of active listening is not that when somebody's talking to us that we nod our heads. That's not active listening. Active listening is actually using a skill and saying, when someone's done talking, we listen to them, we let them talk, and then we say, so what I hear you saying is, and then you recap what they've said to you. And they'll go, yeah, no, that's what I meant. Okay, that's good, because then we can move on. That's active listening. Or you can say, what I understand you saying is you're sensing this, or you're feeling this, or this is what you're looking for. And you're going, no, that's not what I meant at all. Okay, can help me understand this then. And by active listening, it shows, regardless of whether you missed it or you got it, it shows that you are attempting, you're trying, you're really working on being a listener. That's active listening. It's not just hearing it. Okay. It's being able to repeat what you've heard, and then not only repeat and understand what you've heard, but then a self-aware leader now responds. Okay. And they can respond to what they hear. And it doesn't mean that you're always going to do what you've been told, but that means that you're going to respond or be able to respond to what you've actively listened to. So leaders who are self-aware employ active listening. They can adapt based on the reaction of others, right? So they're adaptable in that way. Okay. Number 6 is that self-aware leaders, okay, are self-disciplined. Okay, so self-disciplined. Self-aware leaders are self-disciplined. That means that leaders who are self-aware have the ability to manage their own words and actions, and I add to that, and reactions. Okay, so leaders who are self-aware have the ability to manage their own words and actions, and I would emphasize reactions, because sometimes, how many times have we said the wrong thing? We went in, planned and prepared, but we didn't get the response we wanted. So then our reaction to the response is typically where we get ourselves into trouble. So paying attention to that. But they are, self-aware leaders are self-disciplined. They're self-aware, ability to manage their own words and actions. And I love what Thomas J. Watson said this way. He says, nothing so conclusively proves a man's ability to lead others as to what he does from day to day to lead himself. Can chew on that one for a while. Nothing so conclusively proves a man's ability to lead others as what he does from day to day to lead himself. So the hardest person to lead, by the way, those wanting to be the hardest person to lead is the one in the mirror, right? Without a question. But self-aware leaders have this self-discipline where they're able to lead themselves. And that means they can lead their emotions. That means they can lead their words. They can lead their actions, their reactions. They're able to lead themselves. Okay. Number 7, a self-aware leader is discerning. Okay. So they are discerning. So self-awareness comes from making wise choices about how to handle a situation. And the more wise choices you make, and the more that you're able to, respond to situations wisely, the more you're going to be able to discern in the future, because you've seen this before. You've seen this trend before. So they're able to discern. I had a conversation today with one of the Miracle Channel employees. And he worked very closely with Pastor Leon, and we were reminiscing about Pastor Leon today. And one of the things that just stood out to me was Pastor Leon probably used the gift of discernment more accurately than anybody I've ever met. And there'd be times where he had this uncanny way of calling me at the exact moment about something specific. I just walked out of a meeting that stressed me out. I just had some interaction, something that went on, something happened in my world big, and it was weighing on me. And within minutes, he would call me and he wouldn't even say, "Hey, bro," like we normally would do. He would be like, he would go, "How's this?" And I'd be like, "Okay, wait, have you been listening in? How do you know that?" And so there's a spiritual aspect of that as well. It's a gift of discernment that we all have. And so just as I talk about being a self-aware leader and they are discerning. Discernment comes from a track record of wise choices. You can learn how to discern, but there's also, as believers, we also have the Holy Spirit inside of us who gives us the gift of discernment. And sometimes we just need to listen to Holy Spirit and pay attention, and he will help us discern a situation or help us be able to understand where a person is coming from, or be able to see deeper into the situation than we would with our natural eyes. So self-aware leaders are discerning. Number 8 is self-aware leaders. They are adaptable. Okay, they are adaptable. So self-aware leaders assess a situation and respond to situations by changing their behaviors. They're adaptable. So long gone are the days and of where leaders were, I don't know, it's my way or the highway. Anybody from the generation remember that was kind of the generational leadership that, when I was young, that was kind of the way it was. It's my way or the highway. The boss makes the choice. That's the way it is. But long gone are the days where someone would say it's my way or the highway. Long gone are the days where that type of leadership works anymore. It doesn't work anymore. The greatest leaders today are adaptable. That means that they're willing to change and have to be willing to change to situations, to people, to team, you have to be adaptable. If you only have one way of doing things, then you're going to get stuck. So it's, the easiest analogy that I could give is I coach football, and in coaching football, I could easily go as an offensive coordinator. I could go in and saying, this is my system. You have to adapt to it, and you have to do it my way. And this is how you do it. That's how coaching has been done in the past. Now you need to be able to assess the athletes you have and saying, I'm going to change my system to adapt to who you are, to be able to highlight your skills and pull out what's the best in you. And the self-aware leaders are adaptable in that way. All right. Number 9, is self-aware leaders seek accountability. They seek it out. They seek accountability, which is the willingness to seek and accept advice, is a great indicator of accountability. And a lot of people are afraid of accountability. The word accountability causes us to cringe because we're like, oh, they're going to catch us doing something wrong. Accountability is wisdom, and seeking accountability and seeking it out is huge, because every single one of us, and I'm going to say this multiple times tonight, I'm sure, but every single one of us have blind spots. We have things that that's a blind spot is what I cannot see. And so if I have somebody else that can, right now, I can't see other than looking at the screen based on the camera. I can't see what's behind me naturally. I need you to be able to tell me what's behind me. That's the blind spot. But seeking accountability is to be able to seek someone out and saying, hey, how was this? And did I come across this way? Did this happen? How am I responding to this? How is this going? What are you sensing? And to seek accountability is a really big key to self-awareness. And then number 10 is they have learned followership. So they have learned followership, which is simply the ability to follow. And I love this quote. Bishop Fulton Sheen said, "This civilization is always in danger when those who have never learned to obey are given the right to command." Civilization is always in danger when those who have never learned to obey are given the right to command. I think one of the reasons why God anointed David to be king when he was 17 was his future, but then it took 13 years before David became a leader, a king. 13 years, which has been a long time. You're going to be the king, and you had to wait 13 years. In that time, what did David have to learn? David had to learn how to follow, how to obey when it was against his will. And in learning how to respond properly, and all the lessons that he learned and how to respond to a corrupt leader like Saul gave David the ability to then become one of the greatest leaders other than Jesus in the Bible, in my opinion. And he is a great example of someone who is able to learn how to follow. So self-aware leaders have been in situations that don't just automatically rise to the top, get to the top. They've learned how to follow. So recapping, our first session is they are 10 qualities of self-aware leaders. They're self-reflective, they're observant, they are empathetic, they are perceptive, they're active listeners and responsive to what they hear. They are self-disciplined, they are discerning, they are adaptable, they seek accountability, and they have learned to fellowship. So there's the first one. Now, if I were you, I would look at that list of 10 and then take a few seconds on each one, and just rate yourself quickly on your first reaction out of 10 on each one of these, and go, okay, how am I doing in this area? Okay, that's being self-reflective, and rate yourself out of 10 and identify, okay, what's my strengths? What do I need to work on? And be able to do that.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Parallel Leaders, where we help you target and evaluate your organization, leadership, or department under the microscope of 8 growth points to optimize your effectiveness as a leader.